Hey everyone, this is Ayush and you are watching the Indian Dev. And as you can see that in this video I am going to cover the styled components. That's why this video is going to be very exciting and the complete crash course for the styled components. Like in this video I'll be covering the introduction to styled components, why it is so popular, and I'll be creating a React application in which I'll be using the styled components from very basic level, or we can say from the scratch. And after that I'll cover all the things that we can do with the styled components. And yes, styled component is a pretty amazing library for styling your components in React. So yes, like before jumping on the to the topic, I would like to say that if you guys are new to my channel, the Indian Dev, then please make sure to subscribe. And if you guys are using the Instagram on a daily basis, then you guys can follow me over Instagram. And the reason why I am creating the video on the style components, the reason is that I just created a post on how to style the React components, or we can say the 8 ways to style React components. And in that post I have mentioned the style components, and the response was pretty good. Like everyone was behind the style component. So I thought that I should cover this style component thing. Like everyone is saying that the style component is pretty cool, style component is lit, and like many other responses on style components. So yes, we will be covering the style components. And yeah, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, then you can follow me over there. So this is the official website of style components that you are looking onto the screen. And the icon or the logo for style components is again a pretty good. Like I like this icon, or and many of us used to like this icon, the style components. And here is this pretty syntax, the basic syntax for using the style components and styling your elements. And here you can see that a lot of companies are using this style components in the production environment. And a lot more things are available here how we can install. But before jumping on to the installation and the actual code work, I would like to go through with the motivation, or we can say the advantage of using the style components. So if we go on this motivation page, or the motivation features, why style components is in use, like most of the developers are using this. So the thing is it provides the automatic critical CSS, which means if a single page is loaded on the web browser, then it will look around that whatever the component is rendered, only the CSS or only the styling of that particular component will be loaded to the browser. So what happens is, if we use the common CSS file, then that CSS file is loaded for all the time, no matter if the component is in use or not. Okay. And the second big advantage is usually when we work with the CSS, then at the time the CSS class names can be ambiguous, or we can say the duplicate CSS class names can be there. So if the project is going to scale, then at the time there is a lot of issues in the duplication in the class names. So what it does is, what style component does is, it completely change the name of your styling class, because it provides the unique name to the classes for every style that we will create. So it is easier deletion of CSS. We can use the dynamic styling in this, and that is again a pretty good thing and interesting thing. And the maintenance and other features are there, which is making this library a great one. So if I go to the npm section of this, npm style components, then you will see around 25 lakhs of weekly downloads are there, and that is again a big number. And why it is that? Just because of these points and the ease in use, the styling. So yes, now we have all done with the style components, like the basic introduction. Now what I can do is, I will be creating the React application, and in that application I'll be using the style components from the scratch. So let's jump onto the terminal. In the terminal section, let me zoom in so that you guys can see what I will be creating is, I'll be creating the React application by using npx create react app, and I'll name my component or my application as style component demo. So I'll be creating a demo application using the styled components. So like it's gonna take some time because it will be setting up our React application. So like I'll be back once it's done, and I'll open this in the VS Code, and we can like start writing our code with like for the style component. So yes, it's done. The npx create react app command has created the like React application for us, and here we can start. So I have like opened up that style component that demo application in the VS code editor that I'll be using to explain the things. So this is the basic structure that has been created by the npx create react app command. Now what I'll be doing is like inside the package.json file, if I go, then you will see that in the dependency section there is the basic dependencies that the npx create react app is using. So what I will do is I'll simply install our styled component library in our React application. So for that I'll be writing npm install styled components and hyphen save, so that it can be added to our dependencies JSON in package.json file. So like it's gonna take some time. Till then what I can do is I can go inside the code, and this one is the file I guess, the index.js from where our application is starting, and I will be writing code inside this app.js file for our style components. So let's see like once it's installed in our application. Now here you can see that the style components is installed in our application, and you can see that in the package.json file. Now what I can do is I will be running the npm start script, which will start our like React application on like our local server. So let's wait for that. Okay, so as you can see, the React application has been started on the local host, like our local server on 3000 port. Now I can like close this terminal window so that you can see the code. Now we don't have the use of this package.json. I can go to my app component that is under app.js file. So whatever the view or the UI is visible here, that is like from this code. So like, and this particular code is like pretty basic, which is using the simple css. So all the styling that has been like applied to this UI is coming from this app.css file. So like what I can do is I can simply remove all of this stuff from here, like from the app component, and then you will see like if I will save this and if I will refresh this, then you will see that nothing appears here. So I can write like just to check if it's working fine or not. Okay, so the thing is like I have removed everything, and that hello world will be visible here. Let me remove this as well. Like the directory structure is pretty much clear. The files that we need is the index file, that is a simple one, and inside that we are having the app component. And if I can go and refresh this, then you will see that hello world is visible here. Okay, so like before like starting with the styled components, what I want to do is I want to create a form that we can style using the styled components. So I'll be creating the simple like login form maybe. So for that what I'm gonna do is input, and the placeholder for this input is maybe username, and similarly I will be creating another input for password, and one final thing is the button for maybe submitting the form, or maybe we can say that it is the login form for our system. So yes, now you can see that in the on the right hand side in the browser the form that is like pretty much the simple HTML form, we can say, without any styling. I can also remove this class name from here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'll be using the style components for styling our React application. For that, I'll be importing the styled from the style components. Okay, so this is the default export from the style components, and I can create maybe like for the initial preview I will be creating a button. So for creating a button component, I'll be using this styled dot maybe button. Okay, and this button is like coming from this styled that is from style components. So the like way of using this style component as a button is pretty different. Like I need to write the backticks, two backticks, to use this particular button from styled components. So the thing is, what is happening here, that styled is a class maybe, and inside that object of the styled there is a method called button, and we are calling that button method using the backticks, so that this particular, like whatever the syntax or whatever the styling we will be writing here, that will be like passed on to that button method, and that button method will be like returning and like returning a component, and that we will be saving inside the const button. So the styling or whatever the thing that we need to write to style our component, we will be writing here in between these two backticks. So if I simply write like maybe the color of the button, maybe I can write the color of the font is white, and what I can do is the background color I can write as blue. So let's see if that works or not, because this is the button component that I've created, and I'm gonna replace the simple JSX button with our styled button. Now let's see that like what happens, like if there is any change or not. So let me refresh this page, and boom guys, you can see that the button is styled. Then like this is the simple button, simple login button, and that has been in styled using this button component, and that we have styled using the styled components. So that's how we gonna style any of the component in like React.js using the style components. So if I like simply want to style, like I can style the input fields as well. Like I can write input, and for that input, like as I have said that this styled is having all the HTML tags. So what I can do is I can use the input, and for that input what I want to do is I can provide some of the padding as maybe 5 of pixel, and maybe some border radius of 4 pixels, and the other thing I can do is like some of the margin that can be 10 pixels. So for that I just need to replace the JSX input tag with our styled component, that is the input. So I'll be writing simply input, and this way here you can see guys that the input text has been like styled as per the styling that we have provided using the style components. I can close this like file structure so that you can have a proper look on the code that what we have achieved till now. Till now I have created the button component, I have created the input component, and we have styled those components using the styled components library. So a little fast forward, what I've done is like I simply replaced the div with a container component which is having like basic property of display flex, and that is like aligning, making these like elements aligned in a row manner, and the flex direction is column, and I have provided font family to the header component or the heading component, and that is sans serif. So this, yes, like this is pretty much clear, like whatever we have achieved till now. Now like if I just wanted to have a question that how can I achieve the things like the basic CSS, like if I just wanted to hover over this button and I just wanted to change the color of this button. So for that, like in the style components, that is like pretty simple. Like I can write the thing the same way what I used to write in the simple CSS. So I'll be writing maybe my color to, or maybe red, color to red. And like one thing that I need to just add on here is I just need to use the ampersand symbol here to make use of this, like the selector or the pseudo thing. So if I just save this and if I go to the browser and if I can hover over this, then you can see that the color has been changed. And better if I can change the background. So here you can see that the background color is changing on my hover event. So this way we can like achieve all the stuff that we used to achieve in the CSS, the basic CSS. Now what I can do is, this is about the this kind of events. Now what if I just wanted to achieve something dynamically? So in the usual CSS, what I need to write here is as if the component is valid, let's see if that is valid, then in that case I need to opt for the valid CSS, and otherwise I need to opt for the invalid CSS. But in this style components, we are like more towards a clear component approach. So will be not writing such kind of stuff here. I'll simply provide, like as this is the React component, maybe I will work with the button. As this is the React component, I can pass the properties to this component. I'll like simply pass maybe false. If this component is not valid, then in that case how can I use this props in my button component? For that I'll be using like as we know that these are the backticks, so I can simply use my dollar symbol and the curly braces as suggested by the ES6 template literal. So I can simply write it here, like this is the React component. I can use the props, and inside that props I can have this variable that I have passed from here, that is valid. If the form is valid, then I wanted to keep this as white and the color of the text inside the button, else I wanna keep this as red. So let's see like if it's working or not. So boom guys, here you can see that the is valid, the value of is valid is false, and in that case the color is showing as red. And if that is valid, then in that case the color is white. So you can see that we have achieved the dynamic styling like in our React application, and we can also like work the similar way for the background. Like in the background, if the that is valid, then in that case I'm gonna use green, else it's gonna be maybe yellow. So here you can see that it is true, and if I make it false, then we'll see that this is red. So this way we can achieve the dynamic styling in the style components. Now what next? The next thing is like and this is for the simple styling for each, we can say for each property inside the styling. Now if I just wanted to write a lot more CSS on this is valid property, so what I'll do is like I will again use this, and I'll check that inside the props, if the props is valid, dot is valid, then I'm gonna use a different CSS, and if that is valid, then I'm gonna use different CSS. For that I'll be using CSS and two backticks, and this CSS is coming from the styled components itself. So I'll be importing that here, and inside this CSS like I'll be writing some CSS, and in case of the like component is not valid or the form is not valid, I'll be using the separate CSS. Like if I if I talk about the color, if that is valid, like if the form is valid, I'm gonna define the color property as white, and the background color as green. And the similar way, I'm gonna write some properties in case of invalid form. I'll be using the color as red and the background as yellow. And now I don't have the need for like writing or checking for is valid in every of the property of CSS. So I'll simply remove this, and this gonna behave the same way. I can check it from here as well. So yes, it is working properly. So this is again another way of dynamic styling. Now the next big thing that comes from the style component is all about theming your application. So it supports the theme strategy. So whenever you are working on any application, you should start with the theme for that application. So for this application, I am gonna create a theme, and theme is like pretty useful, and I'm providing some of the properties here, like maybe primary color is maybe blue, secondary color is maybe red, like this I can define the theme here. So the advantage of using theme is that we can change any of the color from the whole project at one time. Like I can simply change the theme of the application, and that will be reflected in all the components, and that is again useful if we want to achieve something like dark theme or the light theme. Then in that context we can use this. And for like applying the theme to the styled components, we can import the theme provider from the style components itself, and we just need to wrap our application, maybe the theme provider. We just need to wrap our application inside this theme provider, and I need to pass the theme that I've defined at the top of this file. So this is theme. Now let's see if that theme is working, or like how we can use this theme. So again, like if I just wanted to use this red color, and red is our secondary color, so what I can do is I can simply check it inside my props. So this theme provider will be passing that theme throughout the application in the style component. So I can simply write props dot theme dot maybe what's the color is that, that is secondary. So I'm gonna write secondary. Then in this way, like what I have done is I'm opting the color from the theme itself. So let's see if it's gonna work or not. I'm gonna refresh my application. Then on the hover action, the color should be red. So this is red and this is working. Just to make sure and just to make it clear that it is working, I can do a different thing. I've changed the theme from here, and if I go to the application and refresh this application, then you will see that on the hover I am getting the cyan color. So that is pretty clear that I'm using theme from the property from the theme. This way we can do a lot of the things. Like I can define the font family, or maybe simply font, and for the font I can use this sans serif. Okay, and the same way I can use for here as well, and I just need to use the font property from the theme. Okay, so there will be no reflection, because if I just remove this, and if I refresh, then you will see that the style components is not opting any of the theme. But if I just uncomment this, then it is opting the font name from the theme. So this way we can theme our application using a style component, and that is pretty much useful thing. I can change the theme of my application anytime, so that is again a good thing. So that's all about like the styled components. We have covered everything that we can do with the styled components. Now the next step is about responsiveness. So as we are talking about the styling, so responsiveness is always there. So for responsiveness, we can apply the media query to the style components. Let's see how we can achieve that. So for applying the media query, I am gonna write something here inside the container. So for applying the media query, it is pretty clear, or we can say pretty easy. I just need to write the media, like at the media, and inside the brackets I need to define the definition for that media query. I'll be writing maybe max width, and that max width I just wanted to keep it as like 720 pixels. So if the max width is 720 pixels, then what I wanted to do is, like, for all the input fields, the width should be 100%. Else I can write it here as width maybe auto. And for this application I just wanted to add some of the padding, and that may be 25 pixels. Yes, here 25 pixels, maybe 15 pixels. Now you can see the like our application, the input has been like opted this width, and that is coming under 720 pixels. Now if I can stretch this to a big level, if now here you can see that the max width for like 720 pixels, it was showing as like the width 100%, but after that it's having the width auto, that is the default width for the maybe for the input fields. So this way we can achieve the responsiveness, and we can apply the media query, and you can see that it is pretty clear. So yes, that was all about the styled components. So if you guys have like learned any of the things from this tutorial, then please make sure to hit the like button on this video, and if you guys are having any question, you can comment it out in the comment box, and you can always connect to me on the India Dev at Instagram. So yes, thank you for watching this video, guys. Thank you very much. This was this was an interesting video about the style components, and I will suggest that you should go with this. Thank you for watching this video.